Okay, good morning, everybody. My name's Terry Adamson. I'm the Technical Director with Fenestration Canada. Welcome to Halifax, welcome to the Spring Conference AGM, and welcome to our education content over the next couple of days. We're going to have some great speakers, some really interesting content, and updates from a number of our committees and task groups. So first off, always like to thank our sponsors. Without them, we would not be here. They do such a great job of supporting us at all of our activities. In particular, I'd like to thank Clearview Industries for sponsoring our breakfast this morning. The bacon was amazing, so that's really great. Washrooms out the door to the right, up the stairs, and then up the stairs again. So you get your steps in going to the washroom today. There's some down here. Okay, great. Thank you. Turn off your phones, please. Nothing worse than being in the middle of a presentation, somebody's phone rings. And hold the questions until the end of the presentations, please. And I've got Adrian with us. Where's Adrian? Right over there. He's got a microphone. Wait until he gets to you to ask your question so we can get it recorded. We record all of our content that gets put up on our website and our YouTube page for people to view other days. So earlier was talked about Cam. Cam Drew is a former president of Fenestration Canada. It seems that as you work your way through the board and possibly as a president, then they hire you. So if you're looking for a job down the road, get on the board and then you get a job. That's kind of how it works. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we're going to get going. We're going to dive right into it here. So like I said, Cam Drew now is working for FenCan as a member business support. Is that kind of what we're talking about? So he's been doing some podcast activities with speakers that you'll be able to see, as well as we did an NFRC Tech Talk a little while ago as part of the business content as well, because it kind of leaned out of the technical side of things and into business. So Cam's going to be bringing a lot more of the industry's business content and support to the membership. So that's great. And with that, he is going to talk to us today about lean manufacturing. So Cam, take it away.
Thank you, Terry. So I'm going to ask everybody in the room just for the next hour to please think lean. Okay, now the Guinness Book of World Records has a category for the shortest time to build a home, to completely construct a home. Any guesses what the time is in the Guinness Book of World Records? You know, it's currently right now about 1.5 years to build a new home, but it used to be about 3 months. What do you think the Guinness Book of World Records? One guess. A day, not bad. 3 hours and 26 minutes is the current time in the Guinness Book of World Records to construct a home. That's lean. So I'm just going to ask us all just to think lean for the next hour. So what is lean? All right. So you've got lean. In lean, everything your company does every day is either value, which is something the customer is willing to pay for, or it's non-value added, which I hate to say it, but most of us, if not all of us in the room here today, are non-value added. It hurt that for the 17 years that I had my company, my position was non-value added. Nothing I did was something the customer would pay for. Even if you prepare quotes, it's often not something the customer would pay for, but a necessity. And then there's waste, and that's what I want to focus on for the next hour. It's not necessary and adds no value to the customer. So in 2010 was a tough year to be in business. There were some challenges similar to what we're facing now. The BC government launched Pull Ahead BC. It was a 1-year program that was designed to train manufacturers on how to use lean processes in their factories. Our company took advantage. We were required to involve every member of our staff in the training, and not all of it would be on site. There was quite the commitment. So those were our costs. On Vancouver Island, there were 8 companies that were chosen. Only 5 completed the year of training. 3 of them jumped out. 3 of our staff, including myself, were certified in lean manufacturing principles, so we could continue to train new staff and our current staff on lean processes. Our trainer, Duncan Ettridge, came to us with years of lean manufacturing experience. So I reached out to Duncan a little while ago, and we're going to hear from him. He currently resides in the UK, and I hope you're all fine with his accent. But he is a continuous improvement lead for an insurance company. He spent most of his career in manufacturing, but he's working as a continuous improvement lead for a company that has 7,000 employees. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of waste in there. So he's got 45 years experience. He's going to help us identify waste and share with us some anecdotes from his experiences. So I asked Duncan to give us something fairly straightforward, advice to follow. We have 3 clips to watch from him. The first 2 outline different types of waste. The third clip shows us how to move forward once we find waste so that we remove it properly from our processes so it doesn't find its way back in. So let's start with, by the way, anybody else lean certified? Anybody? Okay, anybody using lean practices in their operations? Great. Okay, so for some of you, old hat, but for some of you, maybe seeing some of this for the very first time. Duncan uses the acronym downtime when identifying forms of waste. So let's hear from Duncan. This is Duncan Ettridge, all the way from the UK.
One of the acronyms I like to use is downtime. So the D stands for defects. And again, defects happen all the time. And I'll pepper this with some examples of where we've found wastes rather than just say defects. It could be also mistakes. And I don't know if any of your members ever worked a shift pattern. I have. It's very tiring. And when I was a production manager of a shift making Bacardi breezers, the lovely alcoholic drinks, I was relieving one of the operators to go and have a coffee, and I was loading a labelling machine. And the labelling machine was running at 300 bottles a minute. The packs of labels are in 1,000 packs, and you'd load them in a magazine. I inadvertently put the magazine, the pack the wrong way round. We didn't know until the machine started running, and bottles at 300 bottles a minute were going up the conveyor with the wrong label on, with the blank label that you could see. And obviously, huge impact. And so we took all the bottles off, we washed it. But then it was, well, why did that happen? And you do your 5 whys, get to the root cause. And an easy fix from working with the manufacturer was that we put an ink bleed on the labels. So when they're all, if you imagine there's 1,000 labels all standing up like a pack of cards, along the top you would see a line. And if the line was on the left-hand side, they're all going to go into the machine the correct way round. So there's always an opportunity. There's a defect, but find out what the root cause was and come up with a fix. If you carry on with the downtime, overproduction. Now, this is a huge waste, a serious waste, because if you make more than the customer needs, all your profits, all your costs, all in these products that no one's buying at the moment, you're hoping that someone's going to come along and buy them. So there's all this waste tied up, a huge cost. And again, to give you an example from Bacardi, we would run one flavour of Bacardi 24/7 for 6 weeks and hoping someone would buy it. You've got all your costs, all your profit, all tied up in this waste, waiting for someone to come and buy it. So overproduction, doing more than the customer needs, is a huge waste. Waiting. So everyone, we have waiting. You're waiting for meetings. You're waiting for people to turn up on time. That is a cost. You imagine you're sitting there, maybe 6 of you waiting for 7 or 8 people to join. If they're 5 or 10 minutes late, that's a lot of money. You're just sitting waiting for people. Another good example of waiting is searching for tools. You put it down, you're not sure where it is. Your guys are hunting and searching for tools. So using something like 5S, a workplace organization tool, to be able to quickly identify where the tools are and they're in the position you need to use them.
in 2010. Around 2008 or 2009, I remember looking down on the floor and I saw somebody wandering. Where's Waldo? Searching for a misplaced tool. And they wandered around, and then, like Pied Piper, they started picking up people along the way. Somebody said, "Oh, what are you looking for?" "Oh, I can't find the pliers." And so somebody else joined them. Now we've got 2 people that have left their position. And at one point, we had 3 people looking for the misplaced tool. And I didn't time it. I should have. But let's just say that it was 5 minutes for 3 people. So that's 15 minutes. So what was the cost of that misplaced tool? Now, we didn't know at the time where to start. We just bought that person another tool. We didn't dig into the root cause of it and why were we missing the tool. But after going through the lean program, of course, we started to shadow the tools, and we weren't finding people playing Where's Waldo for tools as much anymore. So there's a high cost of a misplaced tool. He talks about defects. So lean principle teaches you that you should have a strong relationship with your suppliers. For us, our 2 biggest suppliers were sealed units and vinyl, and I'm sure for most of you the same. I just wanted to, by show of hands, how many of you manufacturers are using EDI, electronic data inputs? Yep, Ed. Okay, great. Claudio, fantastic. Okay, they were a huge benefit for us as well. We partnered with our glass supplier, and we both shared the cost of having our software provider provide the electronic data input or the output file so that we could order our sealed units. Because up until then, we had some pretty high deficiency rates or defects because we were manually editing the file, and then they were manually inputting the size of 35,000 pieces of glass a year, and I'm sure many of you are much bigger than that, so you could imagine. So once we had that electronically output and input, we cut down on the amount of deficient glass we were receiving 3 times a week. So I would highly recommend, if you're not using EDI in your factory, get on it, stay on it until every workstation that can accept an electronic file is accepting for your suppliers, and also internally all the equipment that you use. So we've got through the DOW of downtime, so with defects, overproduction, and waiting. So let's continue. By the way, I have to ask, is everybody able to understand Duncan all right? Okay, fantastic. Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. He's a great guy, very easy to work with.
The N is non-utilization of skills. And for me, this is all, I'd say, as important as any of them. And it's getting your guys, the subject matter experts, the guys who actually run the machines day in, day out. They know that it's little foibles. They know that if it doesn't quite sound right, if it's running oddly, using those skills, harness those skills to identify problems before they occur and get that engagement of ideas coming forward of how we can improve. I was working with a lighting company, emergency lighting company in Victoria, and they had a recognition system. So people would come up with ideas. I think they would ask for 3 ideas a month. And if it had legs and it would actually go through and you could actually use the idea, it was started with maybe a recognition of a couple of theatre tickets or a tank for the gas as recognition. And these, they monitored it on a chart. They said if all the ideas that came forward, there's lots of idea schemes. The thing that made this work so well was there's a feedback loop. So the guys who suggested the question, ideas, you would go back to them and say, this is why it would or wouldn't work. There was that feedback rather than going into a dusty drawer and not having any feedback and then getting tired of suggesting ideas. So, and also you had charts on the wall, who's raised the most ideas. And it was a bit of a challenge with your peer group. Transport. So this is moving things around. And a really good example of this, I worked in Chilliwack with IMW compressors. And this was, I think, initially started as a small company, and they expanded and they expanded, and they took over 2 huge warehouses. And then as they increased, the machines coming in were just put in where there was a spare space. There was no thought to the flow of the process. And so you had castings coming in to be treated and painted. The paint shop would be over the other side of the warehouse. All these castings went there. Then they went to the electrical department. Then they went to fitting. And it was, you did a spaghetti diagram mapping where the product sort of flowed through the building. A huge waste. Try and get all your machines in line so it's a nice, easy flow. You cut down that transport of backwards and forwards, and the risk of obviously damaging your product. Inventory. I worked in healthcare with nurses, and nurses are notorious for hoarders. And we were doing a 5S. So in the nurses' storage area, we found 5,000 medium blue gloves, enough to probably last them 6 weeks. They replenished every 2 days. They just felt that they couldn't trust the system. So it was having to convince them and educate them that, yes, you can trust the system. You don't need to hold 5,000 blue gloves. Because they go out of date, they're unusable, and they're binned. So you store the right amount of material that you need for a week or 2 weeks, whatever the measurement is. A movement. Now, these are when you're the guys are stretching or moving, or rather than trying to be sat comfortably, and it's maybe a manufacturing process is more ergonomically designed. If you're stretching and lifting things, movement is another huge waste. And give you an example, at Pacific Building Systems, they made the large roof trusses in Carrollton. We were going through, and we were involving all the administration staff as well as the manufacturing staff in the lean workshops. And we're going through the waste, and it was one of the ladies said, every time I need to send a fax, I need to go up 2 floors of the building, right to the other end of the building, and send a fax. And he said, why on earth would you do that? He said, well, that's where the telephone connection is. There was, when the fax machine came along, that's where they put it, because you have the telephone connection. No thought into the flow. So every time the secretary had to send a fax up these stairs, across along the building, back again, a huge amount of waste. And excessive processing. This is doing more than, not making more than the customer needs, is doing more than the customer needs. And a good example of this, I worked for a contact lens company. And those who wear contact lenses, they come into little vials of saline solution. Well, they're actually manufactured at 70% of the original size. And we had 10 lines, had one machine, cost £800,000, so an investment of £8 billion, to try and force these contact lenses to their original size within a production cycle of about an hour. Just as I was leaving the company, I was coming to Canada. They found that, in fact, they could keep the contact lenses at 70% their size. When they put in the vials, within 24 hours, they're at the normal size. They spent £8 million. They didn't need to. Excessive processing, a huge waste. And every time I've run a continuous improvement workshop looking at wastes, I use this toast, Kaizen Toast. It's a great CD by Bruce Hamilton, and it's a making toast, and it's going through all of the wastes, and it's a really visual, very powerful tool. So if you guys are really support this is an excellent tool, something that I've used many, many times.
If you want to, you can go online as well and YouTube Paul Akers and 2 Second Lean. He's great how he asked all of his staff every day to shave 2 seconds. That's all he's asking. Just shave 2 seconds off your workstation. And he says, you know, one of his examples is he found that he was making his coffee every morning. He would pour the coffee in the cup, then he would put his cream in, and then he would take a stir stick and he would stir it. He says, well, what I do now is I put the cream in first, I pour the coffee in, I don't have to stir it because it's already stirred. I save a stir stick and I save the 2 seconds of stirring it. It's just a little example, but it shows that when you tour his factory, you can see how somebody shaves 2 seconds off every day. Well, he has, I don't know how many staff. He makes these plastic bottle caps, and he's done a very good job. Every workstation is very lean. So let's go through some of the tools that you can engage to become lean. There's value stream mapping. There's the spaghetti diagram he mentioned. The Gemba walk. Gemba is the Japanese word for real place. That's where you go to where the action is. Then there's 5S, sort, straighten, shine, standardize, and sustain. We'll get into some of these a little more. And then the floor diagram. We had a floor diagram that was invaluable. We had it on a 4x3 whiteboard, and we had somebody do it to the whole factory to scale with, you know, black diagram. And then we cut out magnets the size of all the pieces of equipment. So if somebody wanted to move the equipment, you didn't just say, well, let's move the miter saw over there. Well, let's do it on the whiteboard, because when you do move it over, you know, 8 feet to the right, well, that cuts down this lane here. Or is it a good move? Will it improve flow? And we could move everybody to the whiteboard, to the floor diagram. So let's start with the value stream map. We use this on a regular basis. We use this not just for manufacturing processes. We use this for our installation process. We use this for almost every process. So the key steps in a value stream map, you're looking for just value, only either value, something the customer will pay for, or a non-value added movement, which is a necessity. And you're also looking for waste. So you need to identify it so you can remove it. So first off is the process identification. Let's use transportation. Let's use the truck. Just, you know, everybody ships. I think everybody here ships windows or doors on a regular basis. So you'd say, well, let's say the shipping of our product is our process identification. So what are our objectives? We always said, let's get the drivers back sooner. That's one thing we kept working on, was let's get them back sooner, because the drivers don't care. We found when we interviewed them, if they sat at a job site for an hour and a half, they're getting paid. Then if they went to the wrong house and then just had to keep searching for the right house, that's all right. That's just part of the job, they would always say. That's not part of the job because it's not value added. It's not something the customer would pay for. It's not a necessity. It doesn't have to happen. So what is it? It's waste. So then you map the current state. We recommend that you use a boardroom or somewhere where you can be away from everything. Very large brown piece of paper is usually what's used, about 8-10 feet wide or something like that. And just start out with Post-it notes. What's the first step? What's the second step? And include every step. And include the drivers, include your shipping department, include everybody involved. And you'll now look for the processes that are waste. When they say, well, sometimes we drive around here or we wait for this. Well, that's, if they say they wait, we already have identified that is waste. So there's your waste identification. Map the future state. So we know what the current state is. What would we like it to look like? And then put your action plan and implementation together. That's your value stream map. Next, it's the spaghetti diagram. So this is your, on the left, this is your brain before coffee, and then this is on the right, your brain after coffee. So I'm sure we found in our factory, before we moved to a new factory, the spaghetti diagram on the left pretty well looked like our paint department, because we had the paint department on one side of the factory, and then the welding the workstation before that was on the other side, and then the cleaning area was at another area. So anyways, we were able to bring it all together, put a spaghetti diagram together to limit the amount of walking. We developed a building in 1994, and one of our tenants was a dentist, and Dr. Smith, and I asked, Ron and I were talking about, he was saying the cost of designing the dentist office was, in 1994, $250,000 he paid for the plans. I said, Ron, that is incredible. We were, you know, that's just so much money. And he said, well, wait a minute. He says, I'm $750 an hour is what I bill out myself, and I have a handful of dentists. Is if I take 2 steps to the right or 1 step to the left, well, I can't take the 2 steps to the right. If I do that all day long, then I'm going to waste too much money. So he paid back that $250,000 many times. Ron is still in that building today, and saving money because of those designs that he invested in using spaghetti diagrams so many years ago. The Gemba Walk. This is one of the most valuable tools that I can highly recommend for your production team to do on a daily basis, and it may involve yourself if you're part of the management. It is challenging to keep doing this, though. I know how difficult it is. So this Gemba is the Japanese word for real place. The main goal of Gemba walks is to observe, listen, learn, and help. It's an efficient method that enables leaders to know what is and what is not working by being with the workers on the floor, delving into how they approach problem solving and continuous improvement every day at work. So sometimes you just ask, how was your day yesterday? That's how's your day today? But how's your day yesterday? Well, this didn't work. Or, they're going to tell you, they'll tell everybody, they'll stop everybody at work and tell them, and take 5 minutes and tell them what was wrong with their day yesterday. But then nothing good happens from that. You can't identify and eliminate that waste. Have them tell the people that can make the change, your production manager, your manager. When you hear it direct from them, they feel empowered and will work together to remove that waste from the process. So, there's a great book, Gemba Kaizen, A Common Sense Low-Cost Approach to Management. I highly recommend it. If you become Lean certified, it's a necessity. But Gemba Kaizen was a really good read. Okay, so here's our final slide from Duncan Ettridge. Here he talks about A3 thinking and how it can be used to go from current state to future state, removing waste along the way.
Yes, so this is a tool that I first started using in Canada, and when I came back from Canada at the went to work for a charity, the Royal National Lifeboat Institute, and we started using A3 thinking in a really, really productive way. It was fascinating. It was almost like chalk and cheese how we went about it. So I'll give you, if anyone wants to look it up, is Understand A3 Thinking. It's a really useful little book. And what to do, the step one is the background. What is the problem? How we can explain the problem. Hey, can you describe the problem in a couple of sentences? If you have difficulty doing that, then you probably don't understand the problem in enough detail. We want measures, we want to collect data, we want to know what the impact of this problem is to the production area. Is it producing lots of, is there scrap, is there waste, or you're not producing enough to meet your customer requirements? But collect data, you want a really good snapshot of what the current state is using tools like value stream mapping, data collection. My current manager, we wouldn't move on a particular task, initiative, a continuous improvement initiative, until we really fully understood the current state with data. You can't have enough data. So the first step, background. Why is it a problem? Why should people spend their time trying to solve it? What's the issue? If there's a solution that can be done straight away, if you like, the first rule of A3 thinking is fix the problem. If you know what it is, do it. Don't. The A3 format is really to look at those problems, and maybe the solution is a little bit more hidden. It's a little bit more, it's not as obvious. So number two, the box 2 is the problem statement. Again, using measures, what the current state is. I can't say enough time. Collecting data. What is the defect rates? What are the scrap rates? This amount of data, this detail, you really need to be able to understand what the problem is. So once you really understand the problem, okay, what do you want to do? What is your target state? Where do you want to be? So for me, an easy line in the sand is twice as good or half as bad. It's you reduce the scrap by 50%. Give yourself a target that is achievable. If like a SMART target, a target that is achievable. Then the fourth box is the root causes. So you collect all this data, you know where you want to be, and this is looking at all the issues. You've mapped the current state, you've identified all these issues that are causing bottlenecks, issues, scrap, whatever the reasons may be. Use tools, simple tools like 5 whys, cause and effect, Pareto to really understand and delve down into the data. Where is this happening? So it's quite easy to say, oh, that line A has got a lot of scrap. Okay, but line A is made of 6 machines. Which of those machines is causing the most scrap? And focus on the machines that will give you the biggest bang for your buck. You want to target those ones because everyone's limited resource, and you want to target the areas that are going to give you the most return. So really understand what the root causes are. Then that will give you countermeasures. It becomes some solutions. Again, what trials are going to be needed, what comms you need to tell everyone what's happening, how is it going to be implemented, how is it going to be planned? Is it a pilot we can try on one line and maybe expand across the business? So the countermeasures, and once you've put the trials in place, collect data. Did you achieve the targets you set out? Have you reduced the scrap? Have you reduced the weighting? Whatever the defects that and wastes that you identified, have you had an impact? And so the box 6 is confirmation of effect. So the results, were the targets met? If not, is there further work we need to do? And you have another iteration of an A3 to really drill down even further. And box 7 is to follow up the actions. Now, what you've learned on one line, is it transferable to other lines? Can you use that knowledge elsewhere in the business? And so use cross-training to try and ensure that line A is really performing well now. But okay, the learnings from line A can be put on other production areas. So these follow-up actions. And then another box, it's not actually box 8, but I would say celebrate. Really, the guys, you're using subject matter experts quite often, or I think every time I was implementing a change, they would be presenting what they've done to maybe the senior management who come in, maybe the board come around. They've done, if like the hard yards. So have them present what they've done and get recognition for what they've done from the board, from the senior management. It's so important. So celebrate what they've done. If you celebrate, they get recognition. It could be anything from just a sincere thank you to a tank of gas, or something to recognise. We used a funny story. We used a pen, a really nice pen set as if someone came up with an idea at the Cardi, we used a pen set was the first step. And one of the guys on my production unit, he come up with several really good ideas. Sean, so I presented Sean with the pen set, or the director line did, and then he came up with another idea. And the second one was having lunch with the MD, and he said, "Oh, Doug, can I have another pen set, please?" He did, he found this horrific, but it was really well done. It was a group of them went to dinner with the MD. So, find ways to recognise your employees, as I'm trying to say.
Robert Meggie, so part of our year, we were able to tour other factories, and Robert Meggie from the Great Little Box Company invited us over. They make cardboard boxes, pretty simple, pretty straightforward in the lower mainland of BC. So he was talking about in the process, you have to change the tools over in one of the machines whenever you change the box that you're manufacturing. And he thought it was taking a long time, but he didn't know. So he decided to post which shift and how long it took for them to change the tools over. And shift A was taking 114 minutes, 2 people, 114 minutes to change the, well, it didn't take long for shift B to take that down to 86 minutes. Well, it didn't take long for shift A to take that down to 61 minutes. Then it didn't take long for shift B. Do you see where it was going? And I can't remember where it ended. I think 32 minutes was the final, and I think shift B ended up getting it down to 32 minutes. 142 people from 114 minutes down to 32 minutes to do the same work. They were just motivated. He just thought the visual presentation. So you may look for visual presentations in your KPIs and introduce them. I can't stress enough that communication is key. That's the one thing we learned in anything you do and everything you do, communication. Keep people informed, keep a two-way communication going in your factory. One of the first things that they did with our team to engage them was play with some Lego, and this was outstanding. Have any of you played with Lego? Sorry, not like this morning. Have any of you done the Lego plane building usually it's a plane, right? It's incredibly engaging. You can see here the demonstration. Workstation 1 has 2 pieces. Workstation 2 gets 5 pieces. Workstation 3 gets 3 pieces. Workstation 4 gets 5 pieces. And they're asked to build a plane, as many as possible in, I can't remember, 1 minute or 2 minutes. And then of course, then you get the team to work together to see how can they build more. And of course, it's equalizing out the amount of work in each workstation. Before you know it, you're going from 2 planes in a minute to 11 planes in a minute, and everybody understands how lean actually can pay off. It doesn't mean downsizing. It just means less defects, more bonuses. It just means a healthier company. Nobody likes waste. Nobody is motivated. Nobody has a good day at work if what they're making has to be remade. It's disrespect. The Japanese look at it this way, and Toyota is the #1 lean manufacturer, or at least many feel that Toyota leads the way in lean manufacturing. They just look at it as it's disrespectful to the people, their coworkers, that if they present an opportunity for defects to be created, for waste to be in the system. Toyota doesn't even, so there's, you score yourself. We scored ourselves at the start of the year when we started the pull ahead program at 1.8. And I think we scored ourselves maybe at 3.2 at the end of the year, and it's out of 5. Toyota doesn't, as great as they are, they've never given themselves a 5. There's always, room to, if it's paper clips that's getting wasted, they still never have given themselves a 5, but they really lead the way. There's another great book, Lean Production Simplified, and any books that involve the Toyota way of, there's lean management, the Toyota way of lean management, and also the Toyota way. I'd highly recommend that you pick up one of those and read them. Okay, so we covered a lot in a little period of time. What took us 1 year and a lot of hours, we just went through in less than 1 hour. But I just asked that you think lean for 1 hour. Hopefully it engaged you. We have time for questions and discussion. Adrian, okay, Ron, I think we want to wait for Adrian to come. Not very lean. We don't have a microphone over in that area. No. See, there's right over to Ron Edger there, sitting at the back, just like church and school.
I guess my question is, what brought you to it? So you bought your company 2008, I think you said?
April 2007, we bought it here.
Yeah.
And I started working in the company. I was just an investor. I started working September 1st, 2008. The economic crash happened October 1st of 2008. So you can thank me for that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Everything went down, but in BC, and I think in Canada, I think everybody found an upturn shortly after that. The rebates came in and things went up, but only for a period of time. Then around 2009, things just went down again. So the BC government put together, and thank you for bringing this up, Ron, because I wanted to recommend.
I haven't asked my question yet.
Yeah, we started looking out on the lands. Well, this motivated us because we said, okay, we've got all this staff that we don't want to get rid of, because when we let them go in the start of the economic crash, we had a tough time bringing them back and training them. But do we need this many people? We got a lot of waste in our system. So we looked around on the landscape and found this pull ahead program. And it was, I think the value of it was around $40,000 for a year of training, covered by the government. But we had a lot of costs because we were having to drive our staff. You know, we'd have to take like 6 people and drive them to another location and pay for the day, and for a whole year, the whole staff at a time where it was, you know, pretty thin, but it paid off in the end. So look to your provincial government, federal programs. Always look out on the landscape for any type of lean programs that may be covered.
Question.
So the question is, I guess you did. You probably anticipated it. So the question really is, so 2021, I think, is when you said you really started to embrace it. What was the driver? Was it something that you envisioned? Was something you needed to do? Did somebody bring it to you? How did you come about making lean something that you wanted to make your mission?
You know, we knew very little about it at the time. There was nobody on our team that had any experience. We just saw that this pull ahead program was available, and we just jumped in. This is how companies don't embrace it. So there were 4 companies on the lower part of Vancouver Island that were chosen, 4 companies on the upper part of Vancouver. We were the upper part of Vancouver Island. Of the 4 companies, we were the only one that stuck it out for the year. We actually had to join the group in the south end to complete the year, which included Van Isle Windows, our competitors. But we decided to work together and say, you know what, it's better if we work together than to work against each other. But I was really disappointed by the 3 companies who said, yeah, I don't see the value in this. Are you kidding me? We visited their plant. There was waste running rampant. And they just said, no, it's just too much to get and our guys aren't buying into it and all that. So the culture, the communication is key. You've got to have the right culture so your team buy into lean processes. So look out on the landscape for there is the CME, the Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters, do have programs that you can pay for, and they will come and train your staff. Go through a 1 day, just try a 1 day and see if some people get bitten by the bug and want to run with it. So the CME, Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters, that's who we worked through. That's who I got certified through, and they are doing it. There's webinars. You could just get your team together for some webinars. Yes. Oh, now all the way the other side.
Do we have 2 mics? Yeah, there we go.
Cam, great topic.
Thank you.
It's very easy to train management people along the training course or whosoever you hire as a trainer. But how did you, specifically you, manage to pass on the information to the floor so that everybody's in line and you buy in?
That's a great question. It was a prerequisite that, for one, everybody had to be involved, but also the 2 other people that became certified had to be non-management team members. So we took somebody from the glazing department. It was great, you know. So now we had somebody on the floor saying, well, wait, this isn't just another management waste of our time. We were all communicating as well. That's what, if we talk about communication, we can go onto the floor and just say to Kelly, it's time for the Gemba walk. Boom. He knew exactly what was going on and how important it was. So he had buy-in, and his fellow team members were starting to buy in. So it would be, you know, don't look at just at the upper echelons and certifying them. Certify some people in your glazing department. Certify, you know, somebody in the shipping department. So bring everybody in from the ground up.
So I got a question about the philosophy of just-in-time manufacturing, how that shifted since 2020 and all the product delays that were happening in the market. Because I know a lot of people used to keep their inventories very, very low, just waiting for stuff to come in and go out. And, you know, not that I'm looking for anyone to bulk up inventory while I'm here, but if you are,
Jeremy.
Oh, they gave me the mic, Cam. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, that's my question. If people that were strictly on lean, if they've changed their philosophy since that, I'd like to hear any thoughts.
I know, I'm sure everybody will echo. Yeah, we all threw that almost. It was crazy, right? It hurt so much to buy, you know, so much product that And when we when I recently sold the company, that was an issue with inventory. There were some parts that we had ordered so much of, C-cans. We're a small manufacturer that you know, we had high inventory levels. Yeah, that did. And because of it, we saw the amount of waste. We saw how our costs went up and costs to the customer went up, and they were paying for waste. And so it actually is a perfect example of why you want to try to keep just in time, which operates, but when a worldwide plague happens, it can throw that into a spin, and you can see where costs get out of control because of it. But now we have mics on both sides of the room. That's maybe over processing because we don't. Oh, good. Greg Dickey. Okay. Question from Greg's side.
Thanks, Greg.
So Cam, congratulations on your success with the lean manufacturing side. The biggest challenge I hear with lean manufacturing, and we've had the challenge too at our company, is maintenance, maintaining your gains and keeping the momentum going. How did you overcome that challenge?
Oh, that was a big one. You know, it's easy to start with the 5S, the sort, the straighten, you know, you get it all, the factory looks great, but then you can see how it starts after a while. But we had 5 values at our company, and safety was number 1. And so we just reaffirmed to everybody, we're doing, you know, number 1 is safety. And so the maintenance of the equipment was to keep our team members safe. So we had to just pay respect to that. You know, that was safety, quality, communication, teamwork, and innovation. Just have to be those were our 5 values. And communication, I always wanted to move above, because good safety starts with good communication, but still safety had to be number 1. So if you make safety a priority, then maintenance of equipment, because when we acquired the factory, there was a gentleman on the team that was missing the tops of 2 fingers, and they showed me the piece of equipment that took the 2 fingers, and they were still using it. That was its last day in production, and it got unplugged and thrown out, and we had something new come in. But I couldn't believe that they were still using something that could do that much damage. So you've got to show, though, that you're paying, you're supporting safety, and that's where maintenance comes about. But it is tough. The truck needs to run today and tomorrow, but it needs to go in for the oil change, and that's its maintenance. But we need to make some deliveries. How do you do both? It's challenging.
Cam, that was well done for an hour. You got a lot in there. Just share an experience more than a question. A lot of companies, organizations, work cells, they get on this. They call it a journey because there's no destination. It keeps going, all that stuff. But they try to do more than they're prepared to do, not realizing that, or don't have the resources to get it done. And there's a very high failure rate or a low success rate because they try to do too much. I can tell you that it's more important to get on that journey, get on that kind of thinking, than it is to try to take on more than you've got the resources to do, because there's nothing more deflating than failing or not maintaining something. Do not start something that you can't complete. It's just more important to get on that journey. So,
sometimes half of the floor staff are hoping that you will fail. So the next time you start an initiative, they go, oh, just remember last time you tried this, remember what happened. So there's no need to try to make people fear change, but they will accept adjustments. So if in your communication, you start thinking of small adjustments you'd like to make and you communicate, you will get more buy-in. But you're exactly right. Plan some little wins. When you do your value stream, just go back to the factory and do a value stream map and just try to get a small win so everybody can get a pat on the back and they'll all feel good and see those adjustments that were made, and then build from that. But that's a very good point, and it happens so often. Oh, sorry, a question from Jonathan. Adrian.
Yeah, Cam, I bet it's a challenge when you already control all the inputs and information, but I'm sure it's probably disruptive when there's a design change, once production started, or a building inspector requires something, or heaven forbid the engineer specifies something. So I'm just wondering, is there an ideal place where you had dealt with that disruption, or was it always kind of off-putting? How did that become more lean?
No, so the value stream map, we did a value stream map for the installation process. And then we found when we got down so many steps, so I did it top to bottom, you can do it side to side. If this, then that. So if this happened, then we go back to which step and then keep moving down. But we just wanted to make sure it's as straight a line as possible and kept communicating what do we do when this happens so that we only take one step instead of two. So, but bring that up in your value stream map, the situations the real life situations. Because yeah, you're never going to have customer orders window, you build window, you deliver window, customer installs window. Right, that's a check. That's great, and you plan for that, but you can also plan for customer makes change to window, then great, where do we go back to, and then back down again so there's the least amount of steps. And remember, we talk about lean we talk about lean manufacturing. It's like two words that go together. Just think lean and think just about, we worked a lot on the process before it got to the floor because the floor was so deflated every time we went down to the floor to say, oh, we got a mistake, you need to rebuild it. And they, you know, at one point it became us and them. We needed to work harder on all the steps before. If you happen to watch the video, one of the videos I saw of the world record being, for the house being built, it spends all the time on the pre-planning. You can't just show up to a job site and build a house in 3 hours and 26 minutes. You imagine the amount of pre-planning that has to go on. Well, think about that pre-planning. So if you want to build a window in minutes and you want to build it right every time, then just spend more time on the pre-planning and then plan how you're going to pre-plan so you don't have any waste in that pre-planning.
Yeah. Just real quick. So back to your comments, the Olympic trainers often hold an 8% rule. So they set the goal about 8% greater than whatever that last step was. That's kind of their range for making sure you're pushing your group, but always being thoughtful about not pushing it too far because you essentially burn out your people and they become disincentivized to keep moving forward. But, yeah.
And why you want to bring more team members, you know, all the way through your program is so you don't have the one person certified running around going, we need to be lean, we need to be lean. You need to have it infiltrate through the whole, through all of your teams so everybody feels they want to improve, continue to improve.
Yeah, not a question, but an observation. So I'm in a product development department of my company, so I haven't been directly involved in implementing lean manufacturing, but as a casual observer, let me tell you what I've seen. 20 years ago, if I went down on the shop floor, everybody had radios, and the radio chatter was constant. So much so that people were stepping on each other and waiting for a break in the chatter to jump in and say, maintenance, come in, please, I need you at this machine. Or, you know, we're down at the assembly line here and there's a damaged piece of jam liner or there's a glazing bead that doesn't fit. I need you to cut a new glazing bead. Today, there are no radios down there. You know, so it seemed like, you know, it was a normal thing for people to be having to call each other all the time, but it was not normal. It was a symptom.
Right.
Of a malaise, of waste, basically.
Right.
You know, and so they got rid of all of this. They got rid of the radios. And our door assembly line, you used to have, the assemblers were lined up at the chop saw. They got rid of the chop saws. You know, the part gets delivered right the first time. And you address the underlying reasons, and then you get rid of all of that stuff.
What was the root cause? So once they found that what they were doing was solving the problem by buying more radios.
The processes were not in control, obviously, right? The quality control was not there. People were passing defects down the line, and then you get the defective piece, and the assembler's like, I can't work with this, not passing it on to the customer. Bring me a piece that's not defective.
Don't make it, don't accept it, don't send it. That's what we need to train people to understand. Any other questions or comments? Patrick, up front here.
I got it. Just more of a comment. The point about the guy going up 2 floors for the fax machine, right? Like, it comes into your culture discussion, because what employee, any employee who wasn't basically terrified of management would complain about that, right? so if you've got the kind of shop where the employee doesn't feel like they can say anything about going up 2 floors to a freaking fax machine, that's that's part of what needs to get cleared out.
You would hope on your Gemba walk, when you ask, how was your day yesterday, somebody says, well, I spent it walking up and down the 2 flights of stairs because I had 3 faxes to do, and that would be the bell. But you're right. That's where communication is key, is to hear from the people that are doing the, that are manufacturing your product day in, day out. That's all the time that we have. I think we got ourselves almost back on schedule. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time, and thank you to Duncan as well.
Thanks, Cam. Excellent session. And again, I just want to reiterate that Cam now has joined Fenestration Canada, focusing on the business side of your business for so long, and certainly my role. We've really focused on the technical side of the industry. Cam is here to help you in your business challenges. Cam Drew at shaw.ca. All right, you can contact him at that email. 30 minutes. We've got some great exhibitors out there. Please spend some time, go and visit them, see what they've brought. They came a long way, many of them. And in 30 minutes, we're going to hear from this fine gentleman right here, Joe Rogers, Senior Codes Advisor with Nova Scotia. You don't want to miss it. See you in 30. Joe, how you doing?